So 5-7 on a typical year, you'd be talking about the disappointment, but this year is totally different. 5-7 feels like 9-3 with Washington competing for a playoff spot. Let's focus in on the defensive line and what you saw from that unit. I thought the announcers made a great point yesterday. It seemed like Washington really didn't blitz much, that they just focused on the front four, going after Ben and creating some havoc.
Oh, they definitely blitzed at times, and especially and I just finished watching the first quarter again. They blitzed, I would say, probably 3 times, maybe more than that.
Okay.
But usually what it was too is like sometimes you'd have Chase dropping off, and then you'd have a zone blitz coming from the other side. So it wasn't like they're putting all-out pressure, but like on that 3rd and 12, they had Cam Curl coming from deep, sending 5, and it left Kendall Fuller one-on-one. So, and they converted. That was a 17-yard gain. So there were a couple times where they blitzed, but mostly it's going to be about the pressure. And I think that interior did a really good job. I think that Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I felt like he played really well. And there were times where even if they're not getting to Roethlisberger, they were driving their guys back and keeping him, making it tough for him. So and moving him off the spot a little bit too. But against the run, those guys took over, and I think it was also the ends. Montez Sweat was terrific. And then I think off of that, I felt like the linebackers played a really strong game overall. And so it was just a really good effort by the front, not just the line, but I felt like the linebackers too. And I can't remember which player said this after the game, and I feel like it was true that they felt like they really knew Pittsburgh's tendencies, and they played off that. And you could see that it looked like they played at times maybe a little bit more aggressive, having a good sense of what was coming. I felt like the awareness during that game was really good overall.
Yeah, I mean, they were really. We were talking about it earlier, John, how we were kind of criticizing the defense, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, kind of questioning the game plan, questioning, would you take Chase Young, number 2, if there was another quarterback available? Look, you're gelling into a really good unit, the strength of their team, man. And those 2 ends with that athleticism, the length, the strength, maybe they're just kind of gelling into a top 5 to 7 unit at the right time of the year.
I mean, it's certainly yes, and with those ends too. And one of the things I think that with Chase as well is just the awareness that he plays with. He plays such a mature game, and there are multiple times where you see you can see him recognize something pre-snap, or seeing something, and whether usually out on a screen, and so he's able to react. He took away a screen in the first half just because of that. Just his recognition of the play, and it was a 3rd and long, and I don't know if Pittsburgh picks it up. If he's not over there taking it away, this guy has blockers, and you get 1 or 2 blocks, 1 missed tackle, it's a first down. There was another play in the late, I think it was in the 2nd quarter, where you can see him pre-snap, sees a stack formation out to the side, and he doesn't rush a certain way because of it, and he gets over to the ball. Those are little things that add up, and there are a lot of times you don't see. I haven't seen a lot of. I mean, Ryan Kerrigan's been very good, but they haven't always had those guys who play with that kind of recognition and that talented. And then Montez Sweat, the athleticism. I feel like he's developed in so many ways. His run defense was really good last year, and it's outstanding this year, and now he's become an effective pass rusher as well. So those are tremendous building blocks. But I think there's been it took a little bit longer in part because that 2-gap versus 1-gap for the D-line, I think, was very difficult. And for those, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne had only played in 2-gap systems. It changes your mentality. And so when sometimes you get into a tough situation, you revert back to what you know, and you're going to go 2-gap. It throws things off when you do that. So I think the transition there also took some time. And I'm not going to say, continue this, right? Just continue it. And then you can make a claim if you want to be a top 5, top 10 defense. Don't make it a one-game thing. But they have been definitely building. And the one thing that And again, like last night when you're watching, the mistakes they made were usually like a missed tackle. It wasn't because of, in the past, like, a clear miscommunication, a botched coverage. It's usually just physical mistakes. Not good, but you don't see guys being fooled. Like there are times where Pittsburgh's throwing the bunt, they'll motion to a bunch formation, so it's a last-second change, and they handled it well. So I think you're seeing that too.
I was counting on my fingers last night, and then going to the Pro Football Reference and everything, and I've been tweeting about it. That Alex is 9-4 here in DC, John, in games he started and finished.
I saw you tweet that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in games that he hasn't been able to start and finish or play at all, like last year, they're 6-25. And the winning percentage on those things is 69% with Alex starting and finishing, 19% without. I'm not sure I've ever seen a starker contrast. And it's not like he blows you away. I mean, I watch the games and I'm like pulling my hair out for half of them, but he's just, because all of the checkdowns and everything. But at the end of the day, and we saw it in 2018, the guy's just the ultimate game manager. I'm not saying he's Hall of Famer or he's even great, but the guy's a winner. And, with all of his experience, they're a completely different football team when he's at the helm. They just are.
That was a staggering stat. Not just the winning percentage with him, the winning percentage without him.
Yes.
And I think there's a couple things to me with that. I'll go back to 2018. So little things that he does. And in 2017, this team with Kirk, and it wasn't just Kirk, but with him, they were giving up the ball a lot of times on their side of the field. So the opposition, they started they were one of the worst teams in the NFL at how many drives the opposition started inside the 50. Next year with Alex, they were one of the best. It's just those little things add up. So, that's one thing, and that's, the ability to take care of the ball is a big thing. I think the presence he has in the huddle makes guys feel good. And in 2018, at the end of that year, when you talk to guys about, what went wrong? And there's we just missed Alex in the huddle. That's a big thing. And you can't, so there's a lot of the intangibles do matter with him. And so I think that factors as well. And even with the checkdowns, when the hard part with watching the game on TV is you don't know why is a guy checking down. And when you watch the game, it's because nobody was open. At least through into the second quarter, you're not seeing guys open down the field. Now, maybe I'm sure when I go on and continue on with it, you're going to see guys you could have had here. But by and large, they're not open, and they were doing a good job of taking McLaurin away as well. So then it's incumbent upon the other guys to win a one-on-one battle, and they really weren't. So I think, when you're checking down, it can get frustrating because you want to see the ball being aggressive or whatever, but the guy has been aggressive when he feels like it's there. And so I think those decisions all add up, and it's just little things too, and I know he took a couple bad sacks last night. That seemed to be unusual for him, but he does a good job setting protection. He does a good job of getting the motions at the right time. Little things, but that coaches recognize and why they feel comfortable with him out there. But yeah, he's not an all-star or anything like that, but he knows how to play the game. He's a professional quarterback. That's what he is.
Right. Well, and you know what? I'm sorry, Kix. I was just going to say that it is a staggering stat, but that just shows you the drop-off between a viable starter and a backup or a number of backups. I mean, that's what happens in the NFL. You should see the winning percentage.
A rookie.
You should see the winning percentage of the Niners when Jimmy Garoppolo starts versus when he doesn't. It's very similar. Yeah. I mean, that's what happens when you have a backup in there.
And I know, you can look at a guy like Dwayne Haskins. It's just a different. It's also part of it is there's a staggering difference in their number and their experience as well.
Right.
So it wasn't like Alex was doing this early in his career. It's something that accumulated over time for him. Now he's a super smart guy, and so I think that also plays into it. But it wasn't like they were, it was going this great for him early in his career. This is a guy who's played so long, and they don't usually have that. The guys that they've gone to after him are typically either backups or very, very inexperienced. So that plays into it too. I mean, just think about last night, they lose their best running back, and so you're thinking they got no chance.
Yeah.
And when he goes down, he's like, Peyton Barber's not going to do that give them what Antonio Gibson does. and yet, you just plug. And I think the one thing, too, that Alex gives you, it's just the whole mentality of him coming back from that injury. You bring that sort of mentality onto the field, so if it's 14-0, it's like, okay, just stay calm. We'll get this, right? And so I think that really, really helps, especially a young team. That really helps.
Joined by John Keim from ESPN and ESPN.com. And also the development of Logan Thomas has been pretty astounding.
Yeah.
You look at his numbers from 2017 to 19, he had 35 grabs as a, kind of a project tight end, but he comes to Washington, gets the full-time role. He already has 43 receptions. He's been in the end zone 5 times. I mean, that's a move that's really paying off for the offense.
Listen, let's go back to free agency, too. J.D. McKissic, that guy's been terrific. And it's funny because when they signed him, I love that signing. Low-cost signing, but I felt like he was underused by Detroit. Logan Thomas, you're not sure. And you'd watch it, oh, yeah, okay, it looks pretty good, but, you're not expecting what's happened. I also think it's a lesson for fans as we get to March not to just chase names. And that's, because everybody wanted this big flash tight end, and maybe there are guys that would have done better for them, but Logan Thomas has been really good for them, and he did not cost a whole lot. And I think some of the things that I really appreciate watching him is his willingness to block, his development as a blocker. He's had a couple times now he's missed some, but he's had some really good blocks. And then you watch him chip the ends, and I tweeted out one this morning where he chips down on the end, knocks the guy over. The guy falls into a teammate and trips him up. So one chip just knocks 2 guys out. You don't see tight ends chipping that way too often, but that stuff helps. So I think it's the development of his overall game to me that has been kind of surprising. But yeah, I mean that was a tremendous signing. And I can't say it with that one at the time, but I thought, oh, this is going to really pay off. I didn't think that. I thought he would be like, okay, you got a number 2, number 3 type tight end, and see where it goes. It's a good sign. It was good because it was low cost, and because he has some athleticism, but you're not thinking he's going to do this.
What about
John,
Gibson?
appreciate the time as always.
Well, sorry, JP, really quick. What about Gibson? How concerned do you think they are?
I don't know yet. They didn't. But when we talked to Rivera after the game, they hadn't had he hadn't been updated yet. But when you get those toe injuries, those can be tricky and delicate. And when you rule him out, basically he was doubtful right away. Not a good sign, but we'll find out more later today.